This is part 4 of our second 9 weeks review. In this problem, we want to mark each equation as true or false. Equation 1, 12 times negative 2 is equal to 24. We know that this one is false because a positive times a negative is a negative, so 12 times negative 2 should be negative 24. Part B, negative 15 times negative 3 equals positive 45. This is true. 15 times 3 is 45, and negative times negative is positive. 8 times 9 equals 72. This is also true. Positive times positive is positive, and 8 times 9 is 72. Our fourth equation, negative 9 times negative 8 equals 72. Negative times negative is positive, and 9 times 8 is 72. So this is a true equation. The next one, negative 13 times 2 equals negative 26. A negative times a positive is negative, and 13 times 2 is 26. So negative 13 times 2 is equal to negative 26. This is true. And our last one, negative 13 times negative 2 equals negative 26. I know that a negative times a negative is a positive, so this equation is false. Next question, ingredients for making chocolate milk. We are going to use 2 cups of milk for every 3 tablespoons of chocolate powder. This is the information given in our table. The first question, how many cups of milk would be needed to mix with 7.5 tablespoons of powder? Since we're using a recipe, this is an excellent time to go and use ratios and set ourselves up a proportion. We are comparing the cups of milk to the tablespoons of chocolate powder. And I know that for each 2 cups of milk, I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of chocolate powder. So I started with my words, and now I have my known ratio. And my next part is my unknown piece. How much milk would be used with 7.5 tablespoons of powder? I'm looking for my milk, and my 7.5 tablespoons of powder is going to go on the bottom of my next ratio, and I'm looking for the milk. This is a time to practice either what you know about fractions and writing equivalent fractions, or practicing your cross multiplying. And I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to do 3 times m and 2 times 7.5. And my cross products are set equal to each other. 3m is equal to 15. And I'm going to solve this equation by dividing both sides by 3. And I find that I would need 5 cups of milk if I use 7.5 tablespoons of powder. Let's go to our second question. How many tablespoons of powder would be needed to mix with 11 cups of milk? I'm going to keep with my same ratio. I am using milk to powder. That's in word form, and I know that I have a ratio of 2 cups of milk to 3 tablespoons of powder. And now I go to my unknown. How many tablespoons of powder would be needed to mix with 11 cups of milk? My 11 belongs with the milk, and I am looking for the powder. So I've set up another proportion, another time that I can use my cross products. And I'm going to start with 2 times p and set it equal to 3 times 11. That gives me 2p is equal to 33. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I find that the p is equal to 16.5, telling me that for 11 cups of milk, I would need 16.5 tablespoons of chocolate powder. Garrett earns $900 working 25 hours a week. How much does he make per hour? So I want to find his dollars per hour. And I'm going to divide the money, $900, divided by the 25 hours. And in doing so, I find that Garrett is going to earn $36 per hour. Write an equivalent expression for each of the following. Each of these expressions listed is going to require us to use the distributive property. And in doing so, we're going to take the outside number and multiply it to all the terms on the inside. So I'm going to do 9 times 8m, and then I'm going to do 9 times negative n. And in doing so, I get the expression 72m minus 9n. On our next expression, we're going to take the outside 9 and multiply it to the terms on the inside. 9 times m, and then 9 times negative 8n. Well, 9 times m is 9m. 9 times negative 8n is negative 72n, giving me my equivalent expression. And now I get down to my third one. Again, using the distributive property. This time we're going to distribute the outside 8 to each term on the inside of the parentheses. 8 times m, and we want to do the 8 times negative 9n. In doing so, 8 times m is 8m, and 8 times negative 9n is negative 72n. What is the value of the expressions below? We're going to answer each of the following questions. On our first question, we have negative 4/5 times the sum of 4/9 x and 8/3. This is the use of the distributive property. We want to distribute the negative 4/5 into the parentheses to both terms. That's going to be negative 4/5 times 4/9 x and negative 4/5 times 8/3. Now we're going to do our multiplication separately. We'll start with negative 4/5 times 4/9. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. Over 5 times 9 is 45. And it's going to keep the x. And now on the other side, we have a negative times a positive, which is going to be a negative. 4 times 8 is 32. And 5 times 3 is 15. So I end up with negative 16 over 45x minus 32 over 15. Our second problem is a great one to do with a calculator and to follow the order of operations. The order of operation tells us to do what's inside the parentheses first. So negative 54 divided by 3.6 is negative 15. And now we're going to bring down the times 22. And negative 15 times 22 is equal to negative 330. Our last problem on this slide is subtracting two mixed numbers. You may work this as fractions or you may work this as decimals. And this problem is great to work as a decimal because they both have terminating decimals. 2 1/4 is equal to 2 25/100. And we're going to subtract from it 8 3/5. And as decimal form, that is 8 6/10. And when I subtract this, I get negative 6 35/100. Now, if you decided to do this problem as fractions, I'm going to do this one with you as well. And the first step that we would need to do is change 2 1/4 and 8 3/5 into improper fractions. 2 1/4 is equivalent to 9/4. And we're going to subtract from it 8 3/5, which converts to 43/5. In order to add or subtract fractions, we need to have a common denominator. And the common denominator between 4 and 5 is 20. So we're going to have denominators of 20. And the 4 becomes a 20 by multiplying by 5. So 5 times 9 is 45. And the 5 became 20 by multiplying by 4. And 43 times 4 is 172. So now I'm ready to subtract my fractions. And in doing so, I'm going to keep my denominator and I'm going to subtract my numerators. 45 minus 172 is negative 127. This is equal to the mixed number of negative 6 and 7/20. So I can either have negative 6 and 7/20 or negative 6 and 35/100. Trent painted 1/5 of the room in 3/5 of an hour. If he continues at this rate, how long will it take him to finish? We are trying to find the amount of time to finish the entire room. So we are looking for the time to finish one room. And since the room is my 1 in this unit rate, it is going to be on the bottom. So we want to take the time and we want to divide it by the amount of the room. Now, the time is 3/5 of an hour divided by the 1/5 of the room. And since I'm dividing by fractions, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal using keep, change, flip. Keep the 3/5 and multiply it by the reciprocal of 1/5, which is 5/1. And when I multiply this, I get 15/5, and that reduces down to 3. So it would take Trent 3 hours to paint the entire room. Isabel is mailing Tom a Christmas gift that weighs 8 pounds. If the post office charges $2 per pound plus a flat fee of $5.95 for shipping charges, how much will it cost Isabel? Okay, we know that the gift weighs 8 pounds and that the post office is gonna charge $2 per pound. So this tells me that I need to take my 8 pounds and multiply it by the $2 charge. But I'm also told in this problem that the post office is also going to charge a flat fee of $5.95 in addition to the cost per pound. So my 8 times 2 will also have to add to it $5.95. As we work this problem out, we find that $8 at $2 a pound is going to cost $16, plus the flat fee of $5.95. This will give a total of $21.95 for Isabel to pay to ship this package. And our final set of problems for our Term 2 review. Convert these fractions to decimals. In order to turn a fraction into a decimal, we want to divide them numerator divided by denominator. Our first one, 4/5. So we're going to divide 4 divided by 5. And this is equivalent to 8/10. Our next one is 5 divided by 7. Now, it started as a fraction, so it is a rational number. And when we divide 7s in many of our calculators, you may not see that it does have a repeating pattern. If you do your long division, you will see it. 5 divided by 7 comes out to 0.714285 with all 6 digits repeating infinitely. If you're using your phone calculator, turn your phone horizontally so that you can see the large amount of digits. And our last one is 6 divided by 9. And this is equivalent to the decimal 0.6 repeated. So to convert a fraction to a decimal, divide your numerator by your denominator. I wish you luck studying for your term exam, and remember to check Canvas to make sure you have your date and time ready for your exam. If you're a distance learner, it is extremely important that you take your exam on the day that you're assigned and between the hours of 8 and 2. This is for all of your exams. If you miss your exam date, you will receive a 0 for your exam grade, and your exam is 20% of your grade. If you have any questions regarding any of the problems that we've done, please inbox me or get with me during conference hours or during after-school tutoring with Ms. Godown and myself. Good luck in your studying.